The Texas sun rises hard, flattening color into glare. A wooden tower looms above the wire, its boards sweating heat. German women stand in line, eyes fixed on dust. Breath shallow. The guard turns a valve, metal groans. A hiss breaks open the silence. Water rushes through unseen pipes, alive, heavy, echoing like memory. The women flinch, hands rise, freeze, drop again, one step forward, one back. The sound fills everything, air, thought, fear, then stillness. Only dripping remains, small and steady. The camera lingers on their faces, between mercy and something older than trust. Central Texas, midsummer 1944. The air vibrates with heat and locust song. Camp Hearn stretches across flat earth, barbed wire, wooden towers, whitewashed barracks set in rows like punctuation marks. Inside the fences, 1,000 small lives move in rhythm, boots on gravel, mess hall trays clattering, distant commands carried thin through the wind. Over 400,000 Axis prisoners now live on American soil. Among them, a handful of women, nurses, typists, radio auxiliaries from North Africa, captured when Rommel's lines collapsed. They were told they'd be safe here, safe but not free. They arrive by train at dusk, dust already in their lungs, uniforms too heavy for this climate. The Americans run the camp with quiet precision. Roll call at dawn, inspection at noon, lights out at 9. Every sound measured, every gesture watched. The guards are mostly boys from Texas farms, polite, sunburned, careful not to look too long. They call the prisoners ladies, though the word hangs oddly in the air, uncertain of its meaning behind wire. At night, the camp breathes differently. Diesel hum fades, insects take over. From the chapel tent, faint hymns drift across the field. English words the Germans do not understand but feel all the same. The women write letters they cannot send. They wash their hands too often. They avoid mirrors. Rumors travel faster than mail. Stories of camps in Poland, of trains, of smoke. The women do not believe them fully, yet they do not disbelieve either. Here the dust itself seems to hold secrets, dry, light, clinging to skin like a second language. In the mornings, the sun rises white through barbed loops, slicing the sky into clean geometry. Some of the women watch it and think of Saxony fields, of homebred, of rivers cold and fast. Others keep their eyes down, stitching torn sleeves in silence. Days pass. Nothing happens, and yet everything does, quietly, rhythmically, beneath the sound of cicadas and the steady dripping of a tower that leaks just enough to remind them, water. Here still falls freely. Night falls heavy and close. The barracks creak in the wind, boards shifting like tired bones. Inside, the women whisper beneath wool blankets, voices barely formed, more breath than sound. Someone asks if America has camps like the ones in Poland. No one answers. Silence moves between bunks like fog. Marta lies awake, eyes on the rafters. She remembers Dresden, rail yards, smoke drifting low across the river. The smell of burned hair that stayed in her clothes for weeks. It had no shape, that smell. Only weight. Only the memory of something human made air. Outside, laughter cuts through the dark. American guards passing a cigarette, voices light, careless. The sound twists against the silence. Too familiar, too easy. The same rhythm she once heard in propaganda reels, the ones that showed smiling enemies and invisible danger. Now the laughter belongs to men with keys. The women pretend to sleep. In the dark, someone hums a hymn, short, uncertain. It stops halfway through. No one breathes for a moment. Then footsteps pass, boots slow, measured. The sound fades. Only the boards keep creaking, soft, endless. Before dawn, the order comes. Hygiene inspection. The words fall flat, translated twice, stripped of meaning. One woman repeats them under her breath like testing a wound. Inspection, cleanliness, the words should mean safety. They don't. When the guard gestures toward the shower building, no one moves. The air turns thick. Flies gather at the window. Marta feels her stomach twist, not from hunger but memory. A train station. A whistle. The same kind of building. Plain wood, steam rising. It looked harmless too. The interpreter tries again. You must bathe. It is rule. He sounds young, almost apologetic. Still no one undresses. Buttons remain fastened. Boots stay laced. The silence becomes heavier than shouting, heavier than the sun itself. When the guards leave, the women sit in the heat, not speaking. Dust settles on their arms like a veil. Someone begins to cry without sound. Marta looks at her hands, scarred, dry, shaking slightly. She rubs her palms together, as if washing invisible soot away. Outside, the water tower drips once, twice, a hollow, distant sound. The kind that reminds them what they've lost. The ability to believe in simple things. A shower. A wall. A door that opens again. The sun rises slow red through wire. The women stay seated, unmoving, until the heat drives them back to their bunks. Sleep doesn't come. Only the smell of old smoke, faint but real, carried in from a memory that refuses to die. Morning breaks pale and thin. Dust hangs in the air like ash that forgot its fire. The camp wakes to whistles and the clatter of tin trays. Somewhere a generator coughs alive, the low hum settling beneath every sound. Roll call begins. The women line up outside the barracks, faces tight, eyes unfocused. The American sergeant reads from a clipboard. His voice is flat, rehearsed, carried by the wind. All prisoners, female section, will proceed to hygiene facilities. Medical protocol. He does not look up. The interpreter stands beside him, words stumbling out in German. It is safe water. Routine. He hesitates on safe. The pause lands hard, heavier than the sentence itself. No one replies. The sun climbs higher, the air sharper now, drier. Boots grind against gravel. A woman shifts her weight, another clears her throat. Small human sounds that feel out of place. Behind the line a truck idles, its exhaust curling upward in lazy spirals. From its rear, crates marked medical supplies are unloaded. Soap, towels, chlorine tablets. Every movement precise, unhurried. The sergeant lowers the clipboard. He meets no eyes. He says, quieter now, you'll be escorted. 10 at a time. No emotion, no cruelty, just the machinery of obedience. The women do not move. Their boots stay buried in dust. A bead of sweat trails down one cheek, catches sunlight, vanishes. Somewhere behind them a door slams. The sound ricochets through the yard, sharp and final. Steam rises faintly from the shower building. It looks ordinary. Wood, tin roof, small windows clouded by humidity. But from this distance it could be anything. Fog from memory. Or something darker waiting to be believed again. The interpreter coughs, gestures once more. Bitte, schnell, please, quickly. The word please almost breaks the spell, almost. Finally, one woman steps forward. Then another. Their movements small, mechanical, unwilling. The guard turns, signaling the others to follow. The sound of the truck engine deepens, steady as a drumbeat. The group walks toward the building, shadows stretching long behind them. From the tower, a single drop of water falls, catches light, disappears into dust. The camera lingers there, the drip, the dust, the footsteps fading, until only the hum of the generator remains. A sound without meaning, a rhythm that feels too precise to be merciful. Inside, the air hangs thick with heat and damp wood. Light cuts through vents in narrow stripes, settling on metal pipes, tiled floors, and a long wooden bench. The women stand still, shoes lined by the door. Their eyes move, not to the guards, but to the ceiling, to the nozzles above. A young American corporal steps forward. He carries a crate marked ivory. He sets it down with care, as if afraid to startle them. The bars are white, clean, stamped with blue letters. He places them on the bench, one by one, their edges catching light like porcelain. One woman reaches for a bar. Her hand trembles as she turns it over, reading the letters slowly. Another woman whispers, a sound more like breath than speech. No one answers. The corporal clears his throat. It's just soap, he says softly. No one moves. His words hang in the air, too plain, too American. He looks at their faces, pale, unmoving, eyes reflecting nothing he can read. He doesn't understand what he stepped into. The interpreter repeats him, quieter. Nur Seife, just soap. The echo doesn't help. The words themselves have no safe place to land. The corporal steps back. He leaves the crate open. A faint scent of lye drifts through the room, clean, sharp, almost sweet. The women do not speak. A few close their eyes, waiting for a sound that doesn't come. Then a hiss. Pipes rattle. Water bursts from the ceiling, sudden and real. It strikes the floor hard, splashing against bare feet. Steam rises. No one screams, not yet. One woman lifts her hand beneath the spray. Cool water. She exhales just once. Another reaches for the bar of soap, presses it to her palm, rubs until foam gathers, thin and white. The sound of washing begins. Slow, uneven, then steady. The corporal watches from the doorway, cap in his hands. He says nothing more. Outside, the cicadas start again. Their rhythm fills the gaps where language cannot. Inside, the women cry quietly. Not loud, not broken, just the sound of water, skin, and memory colliding. Soap slides from one hand, drops to the floor, spins once, stops by the drain. Foam dissolves into the runoff, swirling pale against the grey. The corporal turns away. The door closes behind him with a hollow thud. Only the sound of dripping remains, clean water falling in an unbroken rhythm. For a long moment, no one moves. Then slowly the women begin to wash again. Morning begins with the same whistle. Short, sharp, always early. The camp exhales. Boots on gravel, tin cups against rails, voices counting off in English and German. Beyond the fence, the Texas wind moves through dry grass, bending it like the sea. Days settle into rhythm. Laundry flaps on lines strung between barracks. The smell of starch and soap clings to everything. Clothes, hands, breath. Buckets scrape against concrete. Water sloshes, heavy and familiar now. The women work quietly. They mend uniforms, patch sleeves, reattach buttons stamped US Army. Thread passes through cloth back and forth in small, perfect loops. Their fingers remember precision, once used for radio cables, for medical sutures, for signals sent through static. Now they sew. Same discipline, different purpose. The Americans bring them sewing kits wrapped in brown paper. Needles, scissors, a small spool of blue thread. Almost the same shade as the sky they cannot touch. One woman hums as she works. A melody half remembered from a church near Bremen. Others join softly, just the breath of sound. A guard pauses outside listening. He doesn't speak German. But he doesn't move away either. The song drifts through open slats carried by dust and sun. At the mess hall, meals come on metal trays. Beans, cornbread, wheat coffee. They eat without hurry, without words. Across the hall, an American sergeant reads from a newspaper. Eisenhower advances in France. The women keep their eyes down. They don't need translation. They can hear victory in his tone. Later, letters arrive. Each one opened, censored, resealed with tape. Ink blurred from travel. Pages creased by too many hands. One letter smells faintly of sea salt, the ocean between them and home. Another carries a single pressed flower, flattened, colorless, almost weightless. They read slowly, lips moving but silent. In the afternoons, they are allowed to walk near the fence. Dust lifts from each step, hanging in the still air. Beyond the wire, a road cuts toward town. Trucks pass, engines low, soldiers in clean uniforms staring straight ahead. One woman waves once, a gesture small enough to be mistaken for brushing away hair. No one responds. Work continues. The repetition becomes its own language. Needle, thread, fold, tie. The rhythm comforts them, even as it traps them. Fear turns into habit, habit into endurance. At dusk, the heat fades. The cicadas grow louder, a rising pulse against the dark. One of the women sings again, standing near the fence. Her voice is thin, almost lost in the hum. An American guard stands nearby, hands in pockets. He doesn't applaud. He just listens, the brim of his hat hiding his face. The sky burns orange, then pale grey. Smoke from the kitchen drifts upward, mixing with the last light. The scent of soap still lingers, faint but constant. It clings to skin, to cloth, to memory. Inside the barracks, they fold their finished uniforms in neat stacks. Each fold sharp, precise, almost reverent. They don't look at the American flag stitched above each pocket. They don't need to. They know it's shaped by touch. Night settles without ceremony. The guards walk their rounds. The women sleep in rows, hands folded, breath slow and even. Some dream of rivers, others of wind. But when they wake, it is always the same. Sunlight, dust, water, work. And the soft smell of soap that never leaves. The mornings grow cooler now. Autumn creeps into the Texas air, thin, dry, restless. Dew beads on the barbed wire, glinting like glass when the sun hits. Inside the camp, the rhythm continues. Laundry, sewing, counting, silence. But something quieter begins to change. It starts with a tin can, left by the fence. Half filled with coffee gone cold. No note, no name. Just there. The women see it at dawn, beside the post where the guard stands each night. They don't touch it at first. They only look. The next morning, another appears. Still warm this time. One woman lifts it carefully, the heat surprising her palms. She takes a small sip, bitter, smoky. a flavor she hasn't tasted since the voyage across the Atlantic. She passes it along. No words. Only the slow nod of acknowledgement. The guard is young, 20, maybe 21. Private Ellis, his accent soft, drawn from the far south. He never says much. He walks his rounds, keeps his distance. But the next morning he lingers. He gestures toward the cup. You drink? A pause. Then one of the women nods. They are. He smiles once, small and awkward, before moving on. After that the coffee becomes routine. 2 tins left by the fence before sunrise. Sometimes still steaming, sometimes gone cold by noon. Always there. Always shared. One morning Ellis stops at the wire as they collect the cans. He squints against the light, trying to form a word. How? Say, thank you, he asks, slow, careful. The women glance at each other, uncertain. Finally, Marta answers, her voice soft. Danke. He repeats it, clumsy. Danke. The women laugh quietly, their first real laughter in months. He tries again. Danke. Better, they nod. Good, Marta says. The exchange ends there. Brief, human, enough. From then on, small things pass through the fence. A piece of thread tied to a coin. A folded paper with a word written both ways. Thank you, danke. A fragment of trust, stitched together by patience and silence. The other guards notice but say nothing. The war is far away now, muffled by ocean, time, and fatigue. Here the days are ruled by dust, sweat, and the sound of cicadas. Enemy becomes a word too large to hold in daily life. Sometimes, after roll call, the women sit near the fence, talking softly. Ellis listens from his post. He catches fragments, laughter, fragments of song, the steady rhythm of sewing needles. He doesn't understand the words, but he recognizes the tone. It's the same tone his mother used when mending his father's shirts before the war. As weeks pass, even silence feels shared. The coffee tins rust, leaving faint brown rings in the dust. The fence no longer looks like a wall, more like a seam, imperfect but joined. One afternoon, Ellis brings a small book. An English primer, corners bent, pages torn. He slides it beneath the wire. Trade, he says. One of the women hesitates, then hands him a folded page of German poetry. No author, no name. Only a verse about water and distance. He reads the first line aloud, stumbles, smiles. She corrects him gently, laughter under her breath. The wind carries their voices away, blending them until both languages sound the same. The camp feels different that evening, quieter, not safer, not kinder, just less alone. And when the water pipes hiss in the distance, no one flinches. It is only water now. The morning light falls pale, thin, and brittle. Steam rises from the shower building, curling in lazy spirals against the grey sky. The women line up again, shoulders tight, hands gripping the edges of their uniforms. Boots scuff gravel, slow, deliberate, almost inaudible beneath the hum of cicadas. A new officer arrives, tall, broad, cap low over his eyes. Clipboard in hand, he steps with purpose, boots striking stone in careful rhythm. He does not smile. He does not speak. His presence alone bends the air toward tension. Hygiene inspection, he says, voice clipped, measured. The words land heavy, more than orders, more than protocol. Ellis stands nearby, jaw tight, hands folded behind his back. He watches the women as they shift weight, hesitant, uncertain. Some glance at the water tower, steam still rising. Others press fingers against the soap bars clutched in their hands, relics of relief and fear alike. The women step forward slowly, one at a time. Each movement precise, constrained, careful not to draw attention. The first bar of soap slips from one hand, falls with a soft clatter to the tiled floor. It breaks in half. Time stretches. The officer pauses mid-step, eyes narrowing. No one speaks. No one moves. A single drop of water falls from the pipe above, hits the floor, and echoes in the silence. Ellis shifts his weight, eyes flicking between the officer and the women. The tension hums like electricity in the air. The women breathe slowly, deliberately, the rhythm of control clashing with the memory of fear. Finally, the officer raises his hand slightly, just a nod. Carry on, he says, voice quiet now, almost lost to the wind. No further inspection, no explanation. The line breaks. The women step aside, lowering the broken bar of soap. Footsteps move down the corridor, his, Ellis's, the women's, a slow exodus that carries the weight of days, weeks, months. The tiles retain the imprint of wet shoes, of trembling hands, of soap dissolving into memory. Steam continues to rise, unmoving, unjudged, washing nothing but surfaces. One woman pauses near the doorway, lifts her gaze. Sunlight catches a shard of soap, white and blue, fragile as a promise. A small hesitant smile forms, unspoken, unnoticed. She steps outside. The others follow. The air smells of warm concrete, of dust, of wet cloth. Cicadas fill the spaces between each movement, steady, relentless, indifferent. Ellis remains behind for a moment, watching the door close. He hears the drip, drip, drip from a pipe above. No one speaks. Outside, the women gather by the fence. They exchange glances, brief nods, touches only in passing. Shoulder to sleeve, hand brushing cloth. A rhythm emerges from the silence. Not trust, not friendship, not forgiveness, just recognition. The sound of boots fading, water dripping, sunlight catching the broken soap, and a wind that carries everything away. Weeks pass, slow and deliberate. The war ends elsewhere first, in headlines and telegrams. Here the news arrives in fragments, carried on tongues and folded papers. The women are told they will go home. Orders read, stamps pressed, final roll calls taken. The barracks feel empty before they leave. Beds stripped, blankets folded, floors swept. Dust gathers in corners, disturbed only by their footsteps. They move quietly, carrying letters, small bundles of thread, scraps of fabric. A bar of soap wrapped in cloth lies atop one stack. It is the last tangible echo of the showers, of fear, of mercy. Ellis stands at the gate, hat in hand. He watches as the women gather their belongings. No words pass at first. The air smells of dry grass, dust, and fading heat. A train whistle wails in the distance, a signal of motion, of departure. One woman steps forward, holding the bar of soap. She extends it across the wire. Ellis shakes his head, soft and deliberate. "Keep it," he says. The gesture holds more than gratitude, a quiet acknowledgement of endurance, of shared silence. No one moves to touch. Hands hover for a moment, then retreat. The women line up by the fence, small bundles in arms, faces shadowed by sun and fear. Their steps crunch on gravel, rhythmic, measured. Boots echo down the path, then fade. Ellis follows part way but stays behind the gate. He does not run to meet them. He does not wave. A letter slips from a pocket carried by the wind, folding against the barbed wire. One woman stoops, retrieves it, tucks it back inside without opening. The paper holds a story she will never speak aloud. The train arrives. Steam rises in thin, curling wisps. Boxes shift, wheels groan, metal hisses against heat. The women step aboard, careful of balance, careful of the moment. They do not look back, though the fence remains in sight. Ellis watches until the train moves beyond the horizon, a thin line against dust and sky. The camp returns to its routine immediately. The whistle blows, doors open, dust rises. Yet something has shifted. A faint echo of trust, small as the bar of soap, lingering in corners and on fingers. The cicadas carry their sound across the field, over wire into the quiet. Even the water tower, silent now, seems to remember. As dusk settles, shadows stretch long across the gravel. The last light catches on the rails, on the fence posts, on the few personal items left behind. No one speaks. The wind lifts a scrap of paper, a thread, a faded bar of soap. All of it moves together, a quiet rhythm, unbroken. Night falls. The camp exhales. The sound of boots, of water, of voices gone lingers only in memory. And in that silence, the moral weight of small kindnesses remains, unmarked, unresolved, undeniable. Years later, a Texas farmer walks the old campgrounds. Grass grows tall, rusting the fence, crawling over foundations once firm. The water tower leans, cracked paint flaking, silent above the field. He digs near the edge of the barracks. His shovel scrapes earth and stone. A bar of ivory appears, edges rounded, letters faintly blue. He lifts it, lets dust fall through his fingers. The scent of rain clings to it, faint, stubborn. No one is there to tell its story. No witness, no voice. Only soil hardened by sun and seasons. Only memory buried, waiting. A drop of water falls from a loose pipe on the tower. It lands on the bar of soap, spins, wavers, absorbs into the earth. Sound echoes faintly, hollow, unclaimed. Nearby wind stirs dry grass. Rustling, whispering, carrying echoes of voices that spoke little, listened more. Boots that walked dusty paths, hands that held soap, eyes that watched each other through silence. The world has shifted, yet something remains unbroken. The farmer stands. He turns the soap in his hand. No one explains, no one judges. The bar is clean, unexplained. The camera lingers on the tower, its shadow long in the evening. Sunlight strikes metal, wood, dust. A drop falls again, catching light, then vanishing. The rhythm is steady, indifferent, precise. A cicada hums in the distance, rising, fading. A single bird flies across the sky, silent wings slicing the horizon. All else is still. The bar of soap rests in the palm of a hand, held but untouched by history. Water drips, wind moves, earth receives. Time carries everything away except memory in its quietest form. The farmer walks on. The field sways behind him, empty, expansive, enduring. The tower watches, unchanging. The soap remains white and blue, a fragment of mercy, of fear, of routine. The sound of water continues. A drop falls. Another, clean, unexplained. And the world moves on, leaving only rhythm and the echo of what once was.